Hello, my name is Haida San Fatma, and today I'll be discussing 4 AS Creative Critical Reflection questions based on my film opening called Bloodthirst. So, Bloodthirst is made by a group of 4. So, this picture was taken with my group mates when we were discussing which plot story we should uh, like shoot for our film. So this is me, and this is Hamida Sara, and this is Tuba Khan, and this is our fourth member, Kusum Luzat Lodi. So going back, question 1. How does your product use or challenge conventions, and how it does represent social groups or issues? My film opening, like I said before, is called Bloodthirst. So, a small info. The reason why we named it Bloodthirst is because it fits really well with the plot, and it actually captures the mood and the tone really well. And if you say, and it's like because it's like about a cannibal serial killer that managed to hide under the police radar for quite a while. So obviously, when we're making a film about cannibals, so blood and human meat revolving. So yes, bloodthirst, like thirst for blood, it really captures the mood here. So that is why we chose this title. The film is a psychological crime horror thriller genre film. So our film opening falls under these 4 genres. It's not like sticking to one, but to different categories. Psychological because in terms that it's about a cannibal, so obviously it's like observation of how cannibals are being represented in the film, and displaying the psychological behavior, because cannibals' lifestyle consists of them eating people. So a crime in terms obviously because he's a killer, and horror elements are here is present here in terms of, because obviously a human being eating another human being sounds really terrifying. It's not a light-hearted subject, and obviously it consists of gore, and the topic itself isn't like sounds pleasant or uncomfortable in general in our society. Thriller in terms of there's like some sort of suspense, and also like this killer is escaping the police, and he managed to get away with murder and have his dinner and lunch at the same time. So yeah, basically killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. And yes, it's an intertextual reference to Hannibal, the TV show, and plays a very heavy influence on our film, with a little bit of Stephen King's horror vibe here. So our director Tuba Khan, she is also the writer of our film opening. She was the one who came up with the idea of making a film about a cannibal serial killer, because she was inspired from the Hannibal TV show series. So yes, it represents gender and age mainly, but also taking account of the instability of the killer who likes to eat humans, which is considered inhumane, and unethical in every standards. It is representing disability in terms of his mental state. So basically, in terms of social groups, it's sort of like obviously uh, uh, using conventions here, because stereotypically we always see uh, the males being dominant in the media and even in society in general. Um, and we always see females being underpowered and victimized as such, and always being subjected to being a damsel in distress, and or being like, being the victims and whatnot, and always being saved by a male guy. And also with age, is like we always, there's a stereotypical obviously in age that the older people always dominate the younger people, because the older people's opinions are valued much, because they say they have more experience than the younger generation. So in terms of those, we could say like our killer, he appears in his early mid-20s, whereas the victim Sheila Gordon, as told in the poster, was 19. So technically the young teen being killed is done many times, and a cliche in most horror and murder movies. We see like Night on Elm Street, Carrie, and Psycho as well. So etc. So yes, we see that the killer is older than the girl, so he able to dominate her and able to kill her easily. And in terms of the gender, obviously he's a male, so there's a convention going on that the killer overpowers the female here, and Sheila Gordon is the victim of this such a tragic event. So we can say that the film opening, overall the film opening uses conventional methods, typically for the genre, falling in these specific genres that I said before, that defines why they fall into those genres. So yes, and also in a way it represents, obviously we're like representing the existence of cannibals here all over the world, despite them being rare cases, yet they all exist in our society, still walk among us. Many awareness of human rights and justice. Even though we live in a society that has progressed so much, from having a lot of women rights awareness, and like the pride awareness, like, and the black people's rights and stuff like that. Even human rights are being more aware and stuff, but yet there are still issues in our society, and there are still those social groups that are still stereotyped and whatnot. So yes, and also it's like an interesting take, like a theme of desires, like how we as human beings, because since we're human beings, we tend to make a lot of mistakes, and how we can go astray from the right path, and how far that is us, can go for our own selfish desires, and even certain events in our past that molds us as we are. As here we see Robert, he has fallen into his temptation and his craving for blood, for human meat, and he can't stop, and he's killing people and taking lives, and he's eating them. Like that is like acting on these horrific acts, an observation in a way how much rotten we can become. Um, the opening scene establishes the location of our story, which is a typical conventional way for films to open, just like Jurassic World 2, Hitchcock's famous Psycho, The Kite Runner, and so forth. Hence, it is a conventional method of starting a film after like showing our production house name. Like here, we see our film opening, starting off with the production name, and here, this is where we establish our location. We see this road and like these two houses with cars parked in. This shows that it is set in some sort of neighborhood that our main character lives in. So just like similarly to an example is Jurassic World 2, in which here like it establishes that this submarine sort of thing, I don't remember what's the actual name for it, but it establishes that this is in underwater, the location straight off. It's a very typical way of opening a film, and initially our film represents Robert, our main character, living in a normal neighborhood, and the group of women chatting in the corner represents a very normal and calm looking neighborhood. So if you look back to the scene, that this man Robert, he parks his car in this neighborhood, and there we see these three women here, and we could see the location that it looks like a very normal neighborhood. We see the trees, we see it looks like a Porsche looking neighborhood here. So and also the trees here, there's a lot of greenery here, so we could see that that the trees symbolizes the calmness and the coolness here. So yes, and also that it's sort of a very conventional way when you look at it, because there's this like it's like really typical showing a person that initially he's like this, he or she is like this on this front, but turns out he or she is not the person that was initially shown. So it's been done many times, especially like in crime movies and stuff. So you could say it's like done in a conventional way. So we'll use the reference of Hannibal. So you can see that he looks a very sophisticated gentleman here, very normal, cooking his food, but turns out we find that he's actually cooking his victim's meat. Also the reference again with the cards, when the audience realizes the reason he picks it out is because the victim he killed is actually is the recipe that he's actually cooking, and you can see he looks really normal, minding his own business, like cutting it. Like, the cinematics is very beautiful here, and he looks very well mannered here, and what he seems to be, but turns out he's actually a very clever and a horrible person who actually cooks his victims' meat and makes his guests eat those food without them knowing that they're actually eating a human being. So that is what I meant. Again, the mention of age here going hence the representation of age that backs up, like here in the film there's this poster we can see, and it shows that she's 19 years old. So it's really like this info tells us a lot about this person. So yes, it's a proof of the representation of age. And the conventional and not so conventional method of revealing the girl is murdered, but the plot is the main plot was actually her being eaten. Like we see this in the film, that we see this man who looks really normal. He's in this neighborhood, he just parked his car, he came home, and but the thing that goes off is when he picks up this shirt and this meat, and it kind of then gives the audience a hint and sort of a foreshadowing. They get the hint that something is off, and it shows it's obviously that he might have killed her and stuff. And now he picks up the poster and he comes home and he goes into the kitchen, he puts the meat there, and then he goes into the living room. Look, there's the shirt. It was obvious here from the start that when he opened the door that this girl is murdered, and the stain of the shirt gives it that straight away that he killed her. And obviously this girl, the description on it says that last seen wearing a blue sweater, which this is a blue sweater, and it does shows straight away that putting these together makes a linkage that he killed the girl. But the main reveal and plot twist comes when he starts to cut the meat, like preparing his dinner, like normal as it is. Still feels off, like obviously, yeah, he's a killer, and now he's like cutting meat. And then when the scene comes up, the finger, like sudden, with the dustless like sound effect, it suddenly jerks the audience that, whoa, what? He not only killed her, but he also is eating her, and that was the shock factor we were going for. Because the typical murder thing, we get the idea that, yeah, someone murdered him or her and stuff, yeah. But here in this film, we were going for the cannibal, and the cannibal the element adding it gave a really like shock factor here. So in a way, it's like a conventional but not so conventional method of showing something bigger, a reveal, like a shock and horrifying truth. And like I said again, it was a conventional method of linking by dropping hints of the bloodstained shirt and the finger for the audience to get it. Well, yet it was not so conventional. Scary sound effects contributes in a conventional method of horror. When the finger scene shows up, and like a sudden like bam, like that kind of way. And then with the song going on, it's not so conventional because we also kept the sound, the music, like it's going calmly, and then the ending of our film, when the credits roll in, uh, when the finger scene transitions to this, and makes the linkage that she was not only killed but eaten. It's the sudden dramatic music here, and then the credit rolls. See the newspaper coming. This is a conventional, but not so. This is sort of non-conventional in a way. But still a bit conventional. But because it sort of gives up the crime horror scene, because people do use these like newspaper credit scenes. And the interesting part is that not only we just use this for the sake of cool credit roll scenes, but as well as giving information, we get to know that 14 people were mysteriously vanished from Eddington, the fictional setting of our story, and that the fear has engulfed the whole town due to these sudden disappearances. And then we also see that the first person missing from Eddington town has still been not found out. So this actually gives a lot of information to the audience. At the same time, giving these cool effects that this man, it was not his first time killing someone, and that he tends to kill teenagers, especially ranging from below 20 and such stuff, which does also another proof of the representation of age, how older age dominates the younger age easily. So yes. And also not so much conventional in terms of the credits in the end, because it gives us vital info of the murdering of the 14 teenagers, because obviously teenagers are murdered because it's been stereotyped that they're always being killed, whether it was like in a horror movie or in crime, especially in horror, like The Night on Elm Street and Friday the 13th. So it does fall in the horror genre of those conventional methods. Question number 2. How does your product engage with audiences, and how would it be distributed as a real media text? Since our film opening is about cannibal serial killer, so it would obviously target a certain group of people, especially above 18 plus of age. But in special cases, there are people of 16 and 17 mainly that could handle gore, would appreciate it. But it's more targeted on like psychological statistics of the viewers. It's more depending on how well they could handle such dark content, and not get easily affected really badly, you could say, because media is a very powerful tool that could change someone's perspective and stuff like those. But if it's used in a wrong way, then it could do some serious damage. So yeah, and then it's more targeted towards people who love horror and crime genre films, because in those kind of genres there's technically really a lot of gore and violence going on in there, so they would obviously appreciate it. And then again, people who could withstand gore and violent content, similar to Hannibal and Game of Thrones, especially. The reason we use Game of Thrones as an example because it's a very well-known, popular TV show series. Even Hannibal, so it has a lot of violent and mature content. Yet there is a huge fan following base for that. That despite Game of Thrones being not an all-age group for audiences, yet it is a very famous show. So it depends on the viewers. If they love it, then yeah. And if it was to be distributed as a real media text, then we would use social media accounts, like make accounts based on our film, and marketize and spread the word, since social media is the main hub because most of the time we are always spending time on social media, and it's become part of our lifestyle. So it would be obviously a very big advantage advertising your film there. And the best thing is that it costs zero money, like for example Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. And then we could make posters to advertise our film to the people. We could hire editors or design the posters ourselves and paste it everywhere in the place and get the people start talking about our film. There's an example that I have experience in a little bit of experience in editing. You could see these samples here that I used to make these book covers as a hobby, just like unofficial book covers as a hobby. So yeah, that was an example here we could do. And also we could make well-known people, like sponsoring them to promote our film if we had enough money. Well, we could use also connections, in a way there are famous internet people with large fan following base, especially like YouTubers and famous people. We could get them to promote our film through that. There's that possibility. And also again, we could ask help from a distribution company to distribute our film. Just for example, Netflix, JioFilms. It's our local in Pakistan, a local film industry example that could distribute our film. So yes, if we had enough money again, because obviously we need funds to distribute and make a really good quality film. So it's not meeting up to the standards again, our film, and it's not. And if it was made a full feature film length, we would need money. But there's another solution for that. We could use crowdfunding to distribute our film. The biggest example is Kickstarter, GoFundMe, etc., where you could ask people to help you out to produce a film and distribute it as well. And even the best thing is since we again, if we have large social groups, we could use connections, such as I know some few people working in game design that could design a game on our film and release it on PC, iOS, and Android, and get people to encourage them to watch our film. That's one way to go. and like ask your friends and family to spread the word. Like an example, here in my blog where the feedback is, one of my friend, she reviewed our film opening and she asked that on Instagram that she could post it, and we said yeah, sure, it would be great. So it would be very much appreciated. So that's one way to distribute our film. And then we could upload the trailer. We could like make a small trailer and and upload it. But since we didn't have time to make a trailer, and since the film itself was short also, so yeah, but we could. There's a possibility of doing that. And we did actually upload the opening on YouTube Vimeo on our group members, like our friends account. You could like here. This was posted on Vimeo, and this was upload. This is a link in my blog you could go to. We have like links for the Vimeo and the Google Drive and the YouTube. Like you could see these feedback we got from people, and this is where we posted our film opening. So there's a like you could say cross media convergence, and people get more access to our selected an actor who had an experience in a bit of acting. So if a person gives a good performance in a film, and people would love it obviously, and then the word will like spread around and people will get talking about it. So selecting an actor who could act was really important in order to promote our film and give when it's being distributed, we have proof that like a solid proof that yes, there's an actor with a good performance and the film is very believable. So in that sort of way, and also since we were on a low budget, we could have hired a famous celebrity to star in our film in order for our film to able to get the hype and more people would able to watch it. So that's one way. Some people we know that works in marketing for tips and help to promote the film. So basically, my brother has good connections with like the marketing team in his company that he works in. So we could ask my brother's colleagues to give us tips, and they could help us out a bit, make a good marketing strategy in order to promote our film more properly with less budget. Again, like I said, use Instagram and WhatsApp as a means of promoting our film. A small way of cross-media convergence, like a small example for that. Again, and since we had a lot of feedback, we also did a small screen testing on WhatsApp. One of our seniors gave a review and gives us tips when we were making it was a very rough draft, and gave us tips and advices, and then this is the final finished product reviews that we got when we distributed on YouTube. So we had good reviews on this, very critical of the camera placements, etc. So yes.